Hello and welcome to the sewing studio. Today I'm going to show you how to make one of these little gift card wallets. So I've got two examples here. I've got one that's got a little bit of ribbon on so you can tie it closed, and then I've got one that's got a popper on it. So I'm going to show you how to make the tied version today. So first of all, you're going to need two pieces of your background fabric. So that's this one and the piece inside, and they measure 6 by 4.5 inches. And I've already put iron-on Vilene on the back of one of them. So then you're going to need to make these pockets here. Let me just open this one, I can show you in a different colour, or these pockets here. And that measures 5 by 4.5, and I've already ironed the Vilene onto the back of these. And when you're putting iron-on Vilene onto fabric, I always just make it slightly smaller than the fabric. Two reasons: one, I don't want to get any sticky on my iron on my pad, and two, when you've got a lot of bulk, where your seam line is, it helps so that it's not too thick. So we're going to go to the iron now, and we are going to press these in half, because you can see that these are going to form our pockets. So this is my lining piece, and they're going to form my pockets like this. So I'm just going to press those in half. So fold it in half first of all, finger press it, and then give it a good press with the iron so that our Vilene is on the inside and our lovely fabric is on the outside. And when I say fold it in half, let me just say that this is your 4.5 length. This is your 5, and we're folding it across there. And then we're going over to our background fabric. So just decide, it doesn't matter which piece you use for your front piece, whether it's the one with the Vilene on or the other one, it doesn't matter as long as one of them's got Vilene on. So just choose which you want for your outside. I quite like this one because it's got more turquoise in it. So I'm going to pin these to this piece because this is our lining piece. So I'm actually going to use these binding clips because they're so much easier when you're working with Vilene rather than pinning it. So I'm just going to use these lovely little clips. And what I'm going to do now at the machine is I'm just going to baste these so that that is attached to my inside piece of the wallet here. I'm just going over to the sewing machine to do that. So now I'm going to attach the two little pockets to the background piece, but I'm doing that using a really, really scant seam, so probably not even 1/8 of an inch. Because the next seam I'm going to do is 1/4 of an inch, so it will hide that stitching, but I'm just securing it all together. So I've gone all the way round. It just makes it easier that those two pieces are attached. And then I'm going to take the right side of my wallet and I'm going to sew it there. But before I do that, I want to attach a little piece of ribbon, because if you remember I said at the beginning, we're going to put a bit of ribbon in this one. So I'm just going to measure this on my machine. So I'm going to cut a piece of ribbon about 5 inches. It doesn't have to be exact. So I'm going to cut 2 ties, approximately 5 inches. And at this point, I am just going to measure the centre line here. So that's 4.5. So I'm going to do it at 2 1/4. So that's about the centre point. So I'm going to attach my ribbon, and what you want is your ribbon facing inwards. Let me show you on this camera. It's going to face inwards there. So I'm just going to sew that down. And I've gone right in with the seam that I've just sewn. I'm just going over that stitching again. And I'm going backwards because we want it nice and secure. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. And then we're going to put this piece on there, but just a little tip to make sure that your ribbon doesn't get caught up is I'm just tucking that inside the pockets, but don't push it so far in that the other tail is going to get caught when we do the next seam. Just keep that out of the way for a moment. And then I'm going to put this piece on here like this. Let's keep my ribbon flat a minute. I'm just going to use my clips again. And now I'm going to sew all the way around here using a 1/4 inch seam, but I'm going to leave a gap for turning it through. So I'm going to start at the end where I want the gap. Just going to get that lined up a little bit better there. And I'm doing a 1/4 inch now, so that hides our basting stitch in there. And then I'm going to snip off the corners, carefully not cutting through my stitches. And then we're going to turn it through. So now we're going to turn this through, and because we've got this heavyweight Vilene, it is a bit fiddly and it does take a little while. So I'm just going to turn that through, and sometimes if you haven't left a big enough gap, it can give you a bit of a problem. But anyway, here goes. So there we are with it turned through and our ribbon's in the right place. And now I'm going over to the iron to give it a good press before we close our gap by top stitching. So just be careful at this point. I'm just going to get my snips and cut that bit off. Just be careful at this point, especially if you're using these silky ribbons. You don't want to melt that under your iron. So I'm just going to press that out. And I'm going to press the gap in a minute. A little press inside the pockets. Being careful of my ribbon. And then I'm going to press the seam so that I can close the gap. It's a little bit fiddly because you've got these end bits where your card goes into. So it's just worth taking your time and getting it all lined up. I'm just going to pop these clips in place for when I take it to the machine. And now we're going to top stitch all the way round as I've done on this one. So you can see here that I've top stitched. So I'm just going back over to the machine to do that. So now I'm going to top stitch this down, closing the gap. So I'm doing a very scant seam right at the edge of the wallet. And then I'm just going to go back over to the middle table and tidy up my threads. Just got a loose one there, just nip him off. And there we've got another wallet, so I'll just tie those up. So if you think you've got too much ribbon, you can always trim that off, but I think it's better to have too much than not enough. So there's our little gift card wallets. So these would also be perfect for a night out when all you wanted to take was a note and some cards. So it doesn't have to be for gift cards, it can be your regular cards. So two different designs there, one with poppers or one with a tie. So as always, have fun, and I look forward to seeing you next time here in the sewing studio.